Okay, so this is just a kind of rough annual plan, if you like, for me. I'm not a big fan of specific annual plans because you've got a difference between theory and the reality. And most of you, I'd imagine, work in a club environment. You've got limited time with your kids, limited evenings. The kids have got other things going on, So how can you have an annual plan where on the 5th Thursday of every month you do this and that percentage and this and that, and so as long as you've got a rough idea of the sort of things you want to do in each period, in each time, and then you're constantly. I'm constantly changing my program. So I normally go. General prep is normally kind of six weeks, something like that. Very, very general in nature. I'm a kind of long to short guy, I guess, but I do work speed the whole year. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But I'm always changing, so based on what I see. Some days the guys are coming in and their shoulders are back and the body language is good, and they're gonna do something. So you've then got a decision to make. So you look at what you've got, you internalise that information, and then you make a decision. What do we do? Do we do extra work? Do we lift the quality? Do we reduce recovery, extend recovery? And vice versa. If they've had a real tough week, and I come in and so my guys have been wrecked this week because they had the first week last week of starting to get some more intensity in the program. Their nervous systems are just shot this week. So we've just dropped the intensity a little bit. Probably reduce recoveries. So you get a slightly different focus on your programs. I know Gary Winkler themes his weeks within his mesocycles, which I think is brilliant. It's something I've not done yet, but something I want to do. But with everything. But by the way, word of caution, don't go and change anything you do next week in your training based on this. All right? Change nothing. All right? Go away, think about it. Because the danger is you come away from these things and you think, that was a great idea, I'll try that. And then you start upsetting the balance of your program. So I've been wrestling with this concept from Gary, and I spent a lot of time with Gary last summer, about theming the weeks. And it's something I kind of wanted to bring in this year, and I've just not really been able to do it, but I probably might do next year. So it might take me 2 years to actually, bring something that I want to into a program. So you always got to be very long term. Don't change things just on the basis of what you hear at these presentations. Learn stuff, read about it, and then work out if it's right for you and your program. All right? It's just a word of caution there, really. So let's just go through general prep. So general weight. So I probably wouldn't go 3 sets of 12. I might do with the guys that are learning how to lift. Very lightweight. It's not hypertrophy stuff. It's just giving them a number of lifts to do. I do like my grass runs in general prep, and I like timed runs. And the reason I like that is because there's no relationship to the track and distances, so they actually don't know how far they're running. The danger is you stick them on the track in general prep, they're not in good shape, and they're thinking, oh my God, I can't even run 200 metres in 30 seconds, and they start getting, the confidence starts going. So by taking away any resemblance to distance, I quite like that. I do lots of running and drill sessions in general prep. Real, technique work. I'll show you some videos of the sort of stuff that I do. Diagonals is just heart rate stuff, stroke rate stuff, sand drills, lots of circuits, lots of general body circuits. I've called them high lactic circuits, but essentially they're just continuous circuits. I like hills in general prep. I think it's a safe way to run. You're not putting your foot right down, so I think it is less impact. Just be wary if you're Achilles problems. But I do like hills. I think it's a safe way to, and it's a good way to develop acceleration. We do a lot of acceleration runs on hills. So we start on hills and then bring them onto the track, and then put them into hurdles. So general prep 2, which is kind of where we are at the moment. So 3 weights a week for the sprint hurdlers, They'll do one session, 3 sets of 8, one probably 3 sets of 6, and then they'll do a single leg weight session. Some of the lads are doing weight circuits, so the more experienced guys. So there's 10 exercise, 5 reps, and it's just continuous. That's really, really tough. And I'm starting to introduce some speed endurance qualities now. Kind of call it aerobic power because we're slightly going with the 200. We're kind of coming out of that speed endurance zone, if you like. So we're starting to lift the intensity now on that, and that is a brutal session. Out of the 6 lads that did it, 5 were throwing up before the final rep of the last set. I quite enjoyed that, actually. The hurdle rhythm, so we start at 8 hurdles. Bring them in. The first week I brought them in 2 steps, so 2 pigeon steps. And last week I brought them in 1 step. And next week we'll go to 9 hurdles, then we'll go 10, then 11, then 12. Once we get to 12, we'll stay at 12. And we'll go for 4 runs. And what I'll do is, going back to the slide where I talked about the 5 levels of mastery, so you execute in training under competition, and right down to executing high-level competition under fatigue. So what I'll do when we get to hurdle 12 is they'll do 2 runs on their own, which I will film, always film, and they will look it back, watch it back. Then they'll do 2 runs together, and we'll compare. And what tends to happen is they're beautiful on their own. The minute there's someone together, it all goes completely to pot. So try and introduce that competitive element when you can in training, because it's important. Remember, we're training them to race. We're not training them to train. Specific prep 1. Again, the weights just carries on. So speed endurance now. So we're really now kicking in the speed endurance. By definition, speed endurance is the ability to endure speed. So the runs have to be fast. So I always go 4 sets of 2 rather than 2 sets of 4. I feel if you go 2 sets of 4, you never get the quality on the 3rd and 4th runs. So I couple mine up. And this is a real stable session for my guys. So it's 3 minutes and 10 minutes between sets. And they're fast. So, I mean, James Gladman, he can run these in low 16s for 8. He's phenomenal, actually. I do the Friday session sometimes with 550s out of blocks. They might roll those initially and then come out of blocks. And that's a nice session because, again, and I would do those probably 2 of them on their own, perhaps, and then 3 together, and then 3 progressive 200s. But yeah, there'll be some maximal speed probably on the Wednesday, a couple of flying 30s perhaps. But once we get into the competition period, this is when I really kick in the maximum speed stuff, the absolute speed, I tend to call it. So you'll see on the Tuesday, I'm doing some what I call fast rhythm hurdling and absolute speed. So I'll show you some videos of that in a sec. And that is 3 stride, 3 stride, 5 stride, 5 stride. So it's just getting up more speed than you'd normally have to take the hurdles at. And then we'll do flying 30s. Sometimes they might not even hurdle. They might just do the absolute speed work. It just depends. Sometimes I really want to give you an answer, like a really straight answer, but it's impossible because there's so many different factors to consider in. Speed is absolutely integral to what we do. Now, speed training doesn't need to be running flying 30s. It comes in many guises. Technique, so working on technique, and doing sort of reactive jumps. And those of you that came to any of Gary Winkler's stuff last year, you would have seen him do all the stiffness jumps and stuff like that. That is a form of speed training. So although I'm kind of the long to short, I will always have components of speed right from, the first week. But I'm not going to get them running flying 30s, but I will get them working on technique. I'll be drilling technique, because that is speed training. You're teaching them how to run fast, and then some reactive stuff as well. And notice the Wednesday I'll take weights out and I'll just do turnover runs. Lauren talked yesterday about plyometric and what's the most, or maybe Tom did, what's the most specific plyometric exercise you can do? Well, it's sprinting, isn't it? So we just sprint there. We don't do plyos, we just sprint. Thursday would be the preparation for the race. So 4 times hurdle 6, for example. Remember, hurdling is sub-maximal. You're only running at, well, no faster than 8 meters per second, really. 8.5 for the top guys. It's sub-maximal. In fact, average velocities for the 400 hurdlers are better than the sprint hurdlers. I'm not sure now with Merritt. Maybe he might be quicker now, but I know it's based on the old world record. The 400 hurdles world record, the average velocity was quicker than the sprint hurdles. So it's a sub-maximal activity. Then we'll obviously finish the indoors. We'll have they'll have a week off or a week of regeneration, something like that. Then we'll start preparing for the outdoors. So this is where the special endurance work comes in. So I like this session 5 progressive 150s, for example, where they'll run the first at a nice pace, or the first 2 at a nice pace, the second 2 at a very good pace, so 98%, and then the last one will be absolute, 10 minutes and 15 minutes before the last run. That's a nice kind of special endurance session. The hurdle rhythm runs come back in, so we probably go straight back into hurdle 12 running. Again, it's very event specific. The weights now, we're getting heavier with the weights, down to 2 reps, for example, 5, 4, 3, 2. I might go 5 sets of 2. It just, it just depends. And then I might do some sprint throw, sprint 90s. So that's probably more maximal speed, probably in your definition, sprint throw, sprint stuff. I like that concept of being able to pick it up. Because I think when you hurdle, you have to have that ability to pick it up off the hurdles, particularly at the end of the race. And then the competition season, really, it's all about rest, recovery, and getting ready to race. So this is kind of like, the least labor intensive part of the year, really. The work's been done. It's just the fine tuning now. That's really all it is. You're a little bit more reactive of what's happening in competition. So you'll see what's happening in competition, and that might influence what we work on in training. But it's about recovery at this stage.